I had to find one step, then the next step. If I went too fast, I would get too hot. If I went too slow, I would get too cold. Welcome back to this week's episode of It Takes Grit with me, your host, Rebecca Louise. This is the first podcast that I have done since I have been back from Mount Everest, and I landed about a week ago. It's taken me almost a week to decompress and kind of adjust to normal life again. Just things like instead of pooping in a trash bag, pooping actually in the toilet. And so I wanted to do a lessons video about what I learned from Everest. Now, I can go on and on about all of the things that I learned, the experiences, how that it showed me grit, getting outside of my comfort zone. But I wanted to just break it down to make it really simple for us today on 5 lessons that I have learned from summiting Mount Everest. And if you haven't already, go and hit the subscribe button on both YouTube channels. There's one that's the main channel that's got lots of workouts on. It has also got a bunch of Everest videos too, and we might even be putting the Everest documentary on the main YouTube channel as well. And then of course the podcast YouTube channel as well called It Takes Grit. And if you want daily motivation, you can also follow us on the It Takes Grit podcast Instagram account. Daily motivation to help you get to where you want to be. And I do want to give a massive shout out to everybody who's part of our 5-day break free challenge. Oh my goodness, you are just crushing it. That is 5 days. You get 5 videos from me that are an hour long that will take you through the process of how to break free from your limitations, get unstuck, and reach your goals. And one of the goals that I had was summiting Mount Everest. And I think that so often we get obsessed with the overall result, but really the journey is the most important thing. And one of the reasons that I wanted to join to summit Mount Everest and to join the expedition leaders and be part of that experience was because I wanted to learn something. I didn't know what it was that I wanted to learn, but I knew that me getting outside of my comfort zone would enable me to learn new things. So 5 things, I'm going to break it down nice and easy for us today. Number 1, your pace. And your pace related to me with consistency, because consistency is key. If you do something every single day, whether it be a small amount of something, a big amount, you are going to make improvements. And if consistency you don't really gel with that word, you're like, oh, consistency, I get it. How about you use the word pace? One lesson that I learned from Everest was that I had to find my pace. I had to find one step, then the next step. If I went too fast, I would get too hot. If I went too slow, I would get too cold. And it was about how could I keep going over and over and over again until I got to the summit. My one day was 20 days of hiking. How could I find consistency in my pace? Consistent pace that helped me get all the way to the top. Just like if you're exercising, right? Instead of going, oh, I'm gonna do 2 hours a day. It's like, great, I'm gonna do 20 minutes every single day. I'm gonna find a pace that I can maintain. So one thing, a big lesson that I learned was your pace. Find your pace. If that relates to consistency for you, great. Find your pace. Number 2, you've got to keep moving. One thing I talk a lot about in the 5-day break free challenge is how to get unstuck. And the only way that you get stuck is if you have stopped. Have you stopped right now? Have you stopped moving in any direction? Because you're not stuck, you've just stopped. It doesn't matter if you take a millimeter of a step to your left. If you do that when you're climbing, oh my goodness, a whole new opportunity of things that you can grab onto are open to you just because you change just a millimeter. Keep moving. If you stop moving, you're going to get cold. And what happens when you get cold? You freeze and you stop and you get stuck. So all you need to do to help you get to wherever you want to be, whether it's you want a body transformation, you are growing a business right now, you are working on yourself, keep making steps every single day that's going to help you get to where you want to be. Because all I had to do on Everest was keep moving. It didn't have to be a sprint. In fact, you're definitely not sprinting on Everest. It didn't have to be the fastest person. And that's the thing that I love so much about watching people climb, is that I wasn't going to be the fastest, I wasn't going to be the slowest, but it didn't matter. And it didn't even matter. Everybody was on their own journey trying to get to the summit. And I think so often we don't even take that journey. You're thinking about something that you want to do. You're thinking about something that you want to create. You're thinking about, oh, I really want to get in great shape. But then you start going, well, this person, they're already in great shape. That's like me looking at Kenton, my guide, and being like, well, he's already done it 16 times, right? What can I do? But if you just keep moving at a pace that you can maintain, you're going to be successful. You will, as long as you keep taking action. Now, the more action you take, if you take it in a quicker amount of time, you're going to get better results. It doesn't matter how fast you go. The most important thing is that you keep your body moving. All right, number 3, you got to trust the process and trusting your guides. You know, I've never climbed Everest before. Well, now I can say I have. But Kenton, my guide, had summited 16 times. Dorji, one of our Sherpa guides, had summited 20 times. Between 9 of us, our team, there were 90 summits. I had 1. And before I went up there, I had 0. I wasn't the one who was saying, oh, I should go at this weather window. I wasn't the one saying that we should move to Camp 4. I wasn't the one that says we should come back from the summit on our first attempt. None of that. I had to trust the process. I had to trust my guides. And it's the same thing when you're looking at personal development, when you're looking at a training routine, or you're looking at a new nutrition plan, or you're looking at growing a business. Trust the process and trust the people who have been there before, because they know what they're doing. Surrender. I was never going to argue with Kenton about, oh no, I don't think that we should go then. Like, I think that we should do it here. No. So why would it be any different to anything else that we do in life? And plus, it's going to take a little bit of the pressure off. You don't have to know everything. What you do need to know is that you want to find someone that you can follow and trust the process. Trust the process that what they have created for you is going to work. For example, in my fitness app, I know that if you do the daily workouts and you reach out and you get a nutrition plan from me, I know that you're going to get results. The first 2 weeks, you might not be able to see the result exactly how you want it. You have to trust the process, because just like climbing Everest, it doesn't happen in a day. It took 4 weeks from landing in Kathmandu to get to the top of Mount Everest. But there was a lot of preparation that went in before that. So trust the process and trust your guides. Number 4, don't worry about what's not. How many times have you talked yourself out of doing something because you are more concerned about the things that aren't even true, or aren't even happening, or aren't even there? I could have been worried about the avalanches, about the weather, about my water bottle, about my harness, like all of these things. But what I was concerned about and what I put my focus in, because remember, where focus goes, energy flows. What I put my focus in, that's where I was in the moment, what I could control. And so often, people are saying, oh, you worried about dying? Are you worried about avalanches? Are you worried about the weather? No, I'm worried about having a great time and living in the moment. And I'm sure that this can relate to some of you right now who might be going, oh, you know what? I've taught myself out of doing so many things that I'd love to in life because I'm more worried about things that aren't even happening than I am about what actually is. Focus on what is happening right now. Focus on what you do have. Focus on all the things that are working. When I was at Camp 4 and we had to do that extra day, I was like, you know what? No problem, we're gonna summit tonight. This is actually better because my heels were kind of hurting, so I'm gonna put some more bandages on. My gloves were kind of irritating me, my mitts, so I changed into my gloves the next night. It was like, let's look about what is rather than worrying about what isn't. So let that go, because half of our energy is just worked up about things that aren't even happening. And number 5, you gotta be a team player. When someone comes into the room, give them energy. Hi, how are you? Amazing job. I mean, I kept telling my video team how incredible they were. I kept telling my guide, amazing, you're on 16 summits. Like the Sherpas, like, oh my goodness, you guys are so strong. And I'm the client. I'm the one paying for everybody. By myself, just me. But yeah, I still showed up, giving great energy, telling everybody how amazing they were, even if they weren't doing it back. I wasn't going to change how I showed up for my team just because somebody else's attitude wasn't the same as mine. Because at the end of the day, we can't change other people. We can't control other people. And I'm not going to dim my light on others just because they're not being a team player. But it took all of us to get to the summit successfully. It took, having an amazing guide. It took having people who were already qualified to summit, to video. It took an amazing Sherpa team. And so are you being a team player? Are you somebody who is contributing and participating? Whether that's in a Facebook group, whether you're in, a workout class, like, are you adding value to that? Or are you sucking that energy dry? Because one of them is going to make you have a really great result for your life, and the other one is going to make it more challenging. So if you're a team player and you participate and you contribute, remember what you give out into the universe, you get back. If you go into a workout class and you're just like, you're like, woo, you're saying yes back to the instructor and you're kind of moving around, you're giving it good energy, you're going to leave there feeling amazing. Same with Facebook groups. I know in our 5-day breakthrough challenge in our app group, those people who post in there, they celebrate other people, they have a better day. Because contribution and participation are key when it comes to being part of a team and getting the results that you want. And so there's a real quick couple of things that I learned from being on the top of the world. And it really was a roller coaster of emotions. There's so much time that you are just sat by yourself, you're thinking, you have your book, but then you're like, okay, do I sleep? Am I eating? What's my next step? And so just take one of these lessons and implement it into your life today. Because when you start to implement and you take action, that's where you're going to start to see the results. And that's what this podcast is all about, is finding that grit inside of you to keep on going. That grit inside of you, that burning desire to say, I got this, I can. Because if you believe it, it's going to happen. If you start to doubt yourself, that's where you go into that downward spiral. So pick your energy up, change your state, have your time, but know that anything that you want to do, you're capable of as long as you take action. And there you have it. Quick 5 little things from Everest. I'll be sharing some more Everest content on the It Takes Grit podcast over the next couple of weeks. Some more things that I've learned, some more stories, and also a couple of interviews with some other empowering females who have summited Mount Everest. I love you guys so much. Make sure that you leave a review, and I'll see you next week. Bye.